to see me. I've been lucky enough for the last 2 years to be wearing Horizon socks on all of our treks, and luckily today Rob has brought me in my next supply of Horizon socks to do the trips, and I thought it'd be a really good idea to put together a video and go through what socks you need for what trip. So we haven't planned this is completely off the cuff. We're going to kind of do an interview style and just talk through the socks, talk through our trips, and work out which would be the best socks to have for some of our trips. So I'm heading off to Kilimanjaro this weekend, so that's why I wanted my new socks. So Rob, for Kilimanjaro, I'm going to start off on next week in the rainforest in 30-degree heat. I might be wearing my approach shoes as opposed to wearing my boots at that level, and then 4 days later I could be at -15 in a pair of boots on top of the mountain. So I'm going to need to take different socks with me. So what we're going to pack in my bag for that trip.
Okay, so when you start off in the forest, Keith,
yeah,
I'm guessing you're still going to want a bit of ankle protection and stuff as well. So we do like really low cut socks which go with approach shoes and bits and pieces, but it's probably not going to be the thing you want for that environment. So I'd start somewhere around here, which is like a microcrew sock.
Okay.
So it's not the full height of a normal hiking sock, and it's not the full cushioning. So you grab that one, and if you turn it inside out, you'll see it's cushioned underneath.
Yeah.
And then it's thin over the forefoot, and then quite thin around the ankle as well. So you're going to get the breathability, but you're going to get the cushioning you need for wearing your approach shoes. Because what sort of distance are you doing?
Like 14k, something like that.
Through the rainforest.
Yeah.
So this sock's going to allow you to do that, and then probably a little bit beyond that as well when you start getting into the lower trails and bits and pieces. All right?
Yeah. So we're going to probably be wearing these for like a good 2 or 3 days, and then as we approach base camp and up to Kibo Hut, then we're going to need to go into something a lot warmer then for summit night.
Yeah. When you're doing that initial walk in and everything, like the journeying from the airport, say, to where you start hiking, what are you in then? What are the sort of temperatures and things like for that?
Well, to be honest, we're going to be like 30-degree heat, so wandering around Moshi. So it's going to be.
So people either be in sandals before they get into approach shoes.
Yeah.
Okay, so really, just because of the protection you want for the feet, we do thinner socks again, but as I say, you're going to be in sandals, then you're going to do into approach shoes, so this is going to be the sock that's going to get the most use for that.
Alright. Okay.
It's a Marina wool sock, and actually we use a real dense needle count, so you can see the loop stitch really fine on that, so it's going to give you extra cushioning from the thinner sock as well. Alright?
Perfect.
Once you've done the approach shoe bit, what boots are you then going to?
I'm going to probably wear my lightweight B2s, to be fair, so I'm going to be in a pair of Sportiva Trangos or something like that.
So it's a fairly substantial boot.
Yeah.
And how far is that taking you? Is that going to the top?
I'll wear those all the way to the top.
So that's going all the way to the top. So there's a couple of choices then. Your classic trekking sock, which I think everyone would probably recognise. It's a product that's been around for a very long time. Loop stitch over the whole body of the sock, loads of cushioning. We actually put Cordura on the heel and sole on these, so it's really, really durable, and that'd be your classic sort of thicker walking sock. You're going to get personal preferences, you're going to get people obviously variation in footwear, what they like to use and those styles. And I think a key thing with the socks now is we do a couple of different ranges. We do a performance range, which this is in, and we do a range which we call the premium, because Merino's become so popular. The premium Merino has a thinner approach to the product, but that denser needle stitch, so it allows for this more cushioned product that's in the footwear market now. So a lot of the Salomons, the Merrells and things like that, this premium range here tends to be better for that style of product.
Okay.
So I gave you something, let's give you a gents one.
Thank you.
Again like this, which is the hike sock. Just interested in your opinion, do you think that'd be thick enough for you in your B2s, or is that still too thin?
No, I'd probably say that's a bit too thin, I would have thought, for a whole day out on the hill.
So, let's put you into this. Tracker?
Yeah, that'd be thick enough.
Okay, so that's your two socks really that you've got your choice from them. You've got your traditionalist heavyweight, durable, slightly baggy loop stitch, or you've got your really dense loop stitch, and that's really the one I'd recommend for you if you're using products like the Sportiva boots or Salmons or stuff like that. I think that's going to be the better sock.
Yeah.
All right. So sticking with the premium range, you're going to have your micro crews, and you're going to have your Trek socks.
Yeah.
Now, as I say, predominantly merino for that story. If you have got anyone that's doing the Trek and they want the synthetic product, we do the Cool Max, and as you'll feel, that's very similar to the Trek style product.
Yeah.
All right, so that covers.
But Cool Max material as opposed to merino wool material.
So Cool Max, incredibly fast at wicking moisture away from the foot, so very similar sort of performance.
Yeah.
All right.
Perfect. I think the thing I like with the Horizon socks is the fact that they just don't smell after a day of walking in them.
Well, that's
the merino side of things in there as well, isn't it?
It is the big struggle that people have with socks. Is obviously if you're doing a trek and you're going to be out there and you're doing 2-3 days at a time in the same pair of socks. I mean, I don't know how many sort of.
Yeah, I think the thing with it is like if I'm doing something like Kilimanjaro or Mount Toubkal or Sahara Desert Trek that are kind of like 4 to 6 days in duration, then I will have a clean pair of socks for each day because I've got the space in my bag to pack them. But if I'm going and doing something like an Everest Base Camp trek or an Island Peak trek where you're trekking for sort of 15 days, you haven't then got the space in your bag to take 15 pairs of socks with you. So that's where obviously liner socks can come in to help you out a bit there as well.
Exactly the same base layer style, doing it that way as you would with your other clothing. And I think that's a really important point is it's very hard for people to get excited about the socks and looking into socks in depth because you go out to buy your kit and you get really excited for your new pair of boots or your rucksack or whatever, but you don't tend to spend the same amount of time on your socks, and obviously they're probably second after the boots the most essential piece of equipment.
Yeah, definitely.
Obviously carrying things, it makes a big difference in volume and what you can take with you. As I keep going on, merino wool has just been the buzzword for, we know, over 10-15 years working in the industry now. Loads and loads of people use it, they love it, and it's great from the antibacterial point of view and keeping that smell down. But there's something I've got for you that we've recently developed, which is this new Atomic 29 product. And strangely, it's a synthetic sock, but the thing that we've done with this sock is we've actually woven a yarn that is real copper into the sock. And if you think of old copper bar tops, copper tables in pubs and things like that, the reason they use that is because it's antibacterial, so it stops them from smelling. But also, being copper and the yarn is copper wire, which you'd think is abrasive against your foot, but we actually wind it around another yarn so it isn't. It's permanent, it doesn't wash out. And that's the thing is there's been a lot of treated fibres over the years that have sort of insect repellent and things like that put on them, and eventually it's got a lifespan.
Yeah.
But the copper in this is permanent, it doesn't wash away. And it was myself having, I obviously used to have the shop and sold multiple different brands of socks over the years. And when I started working with Horizon...
You can actually see the copper in them.
Yeah, you can see the copper, especially in the blue navy ones, it's really prominent. But I went from using merino wool for 10 years to trying some Cool Max socks out again, realised how good they were. So I looked back at synthetics and came up with these, and they've been really, really well received. As you can feel, the synthetics are very soft fibre.
Yeah.
It kind of almost feels a bit slinky.
Yeah.
But it's great.
Would you wear those as a liner sock underneath as well then, could you? Or?
I would, but again, it depends on the volume of the footwear.
Yeah.
It really is a very personal preference thing of, do you how you are wearing your shoes and your boots and how they've been fitted, and it's really important if you get the opportunity to get it nailed down what style of socks you like to wear, test them out, and then when you get your boots fitted, go with those socks, because there's going to be no point in sort of being halfway up that trek.
No. And then
you've got a pair of those on and you stick a pair of Treks on over the top and suddenly you've pushed the volume out, and you don't want clients stuck in their toes and they're taking too much volume out of the boot. So it's really important to sort that whole combination out really at the same time. Alright?
Perfect.
But yeah, a couple of new bits there for you to test out.
I think these would be ideal for like our Sahara Desert treks where you are in heat and you are wearing a pair of approach shoes probably more than a boot.
We used athletes that do the Sahara stuff, marathons, the Saba race and things like that to develop that sock, and they tested them, and exactly their response was, this is going to be a good sock for that style of racing. but obviously, it's opposite to what you're doing. You've got heat at a certain degree, and then you've got
cold at the other one, at the other end.
The other end. And, everybody varies massively again through the temperature they feel through their feet. So we have got, your merino wool equivalents.
Okay.
In the quarter style sock. It's got an Airtex top to that, so again, by all means put it out of the wrapper, keep it if you want. And that again, very thin over the forefoot. Feel it?
Yeah.
So again, that's all that moisture in the air to permeate, so it's wicking away. But as well as that, it's allowing the foot to breathe.
I've got cushion on the bottom as well.
So merino wool is still very, very popular for those events and things like that in the Sahara. All right.
Perfect. Okay, so we've covered off.
Lower level.
Lower level.
Yeah.
I think. Yeah. So from the point of view of things like Everest Base Camp treks, predominantly, you're going to be walking in something like this for the majority of the days that you're trekking. Temperatures are not going to be too cold.
No.
But the higher you get up, you are going to need to have a thicker sock for, summit night on Island Peak or Kilimanjaro or Elbrus or some of those peaks. Yeah. So what would you recommend going into on those colder nights? So
there's one sock really, and that's the Mountaineer that we do. And this is a sock that, obviously there's a lot of merino wool in this sock, so it's not the cheapest of socks.
Yeah.
But
you're not going to wear it that often, are you, let's be honest?
Well, the interesting thing with this sock, you feel it, it's a gorgeous sock. It's really soft.
Gorgeous sock.
I know. But basically, the density, that you can feel the extra cushioning in that sock. Yeah. It's a really nice, chunky, thick, warm sock. And what people find is, they get a pair of these and they think, well, is it just for that expedition? But we're even finding people buying those to wear in Wellington boots now during the winter because it's just a really nice, comfortable, cushioned sock. But what we do, again, is increase the amount of wool that's used in the product.
Yeah. And what are these socks rated to a temperature or?
These are done on the basic standard of obviously your thickness and what you're going to be using. It's quite obvious if you've got a thin wool jumper and then you get a thick wool jumper, which one's going to be the warmest, and that's common sense. If you have got someone that has got problems with their feet getting really, really cold, then we do a product which I can grab for you out of the bag. We actually do something initially made for sort of extreme mountaineering, which is our Primaloft sock. And what we've done with this is we've actually blended in the Primaloft hollow fibre.
Okay.
That's used in a lot of insulated jackets and bits and pieces. So that's blended with the merino wool. It's Primaloft silver yarn, and we do actually rate that sock, and that sock's tested to -40. So it's a pretty warm sock.
I'm hoping it's not going to be that cold next week, but
no. But again, people vary, don't they? So you do get people that get really, really cold feet, have poor circulation, and then that's the sort of thing you want to steer them towards, so they've got that extra level. But what I would say is for me as a combination. I go sort of into Scotland in the winter, and for me personally, I find that sock hiking in a proper pair of mountaineering boots probably a bit too warm.
Yeah.
And I'd say if you're going to go on the Kilimanjaro trek, then having a combination of the Microcrew, which is your Swiss Army knife for socks, you can use that in most of the modern footwear and the approach shoes. You can always stick that underneath your Mountaineer.
Yeah.
You're going to get that extra warmth.
Definitely.
So again, using a layering system rather than just going full on extreme warmth, you're carrying.
Because the trouble is, you've still got to come back down again. So when you get to the top, you've still got to make your way back down. It's going to be warmer. The sun's going to be up. So actually, you don't want to be wearing overheating on the way back down, really.
Exactly. It's the other side of things as well. All right.
Yeah, but I'm really liking the fact that the colour scheme is airing more towards the bucket list company colours now. The orange and the blue. I think that's very good that we're getting our own.
Yeah, that's kind of.
That's our corporate colour of sock there. Okay, so brilliant. So I think we've gone through all the socks now. The different. There isn't a one sock that fits all purpose really. For every trip, you are going to need to think about your socks. You are going to need to consider the trip and what you're going to need to take with you, really. And I think the thing is not to leave it until the last minute, like you say, and actually use the socks beforehand. And
it is that classic thing. When I had the shop, is people would come in and they'd spend hours, if not half a day. Sometimes we used to close at 9 o'clock at night when we were supposed to close at 5, and they'd done their rucksack and they've got everything to go away travelling, and then a week before they go, the mum and dad or a relative will come and go, my friend's going, they need some walking socks. And you're thinking they really wanted to get that initially, get them tested, start using them in the footwear and make sure it's the right product for them, because it does vary for everybody.
Well, I mean, there's that story that I always tell of a lady who was on one of our Morocco trips, and she, 3 hours into the trek, and she was moaning about the blisters on her feet. So I said I'd take a look at them, and when she pulled her boot off, her sock was like that much longer than her foot. And I said, well, what size are they? She was like, oh, I don't know. They were like size 11 to 13s, but they were in the bargain bin and they were cheap, so I just thought I'd buy them anyway.
Yeah. And she's probably got an expensive pair of boots.
She didn't get to the top of the mountain because her feet were in that much of a mess within the first 3 hours of walking up Mount Tootcount.
And that's a really important thing as well, Keith, is the sizing of things. Sock sizing does vary. I would say, you're a size 9, but our size is sort of in the gents is medium to large, and our mediums run to an 8.5, but you're certainly going to put on a medium pair of socks because the largest run to 11.5, and you don't want that extra space in there. And that's one thing that your clients are going to need to know is always on that slightly smaller size.
So you'd always go to so if you were like half a size up or a size up, then potentially come back down a size and let them stretch rather than have too much space in it.
You can feel there's plenty of give in the socks, obviously, to make the actual skeleton that the merino wool's blended to. You've got to use synthetics, nylons and things like that to do that, so you can feel there's the give there anyway.
So at the minute we don't stock the full range of Horizon socks. No. Where can people go and have a look? Can they buy them online on the website?
They can buy them online on the website, so horizonsocks.co.uk, or they can come to you, and obviously we can get them to you and you can supply them direct. So it's really easy to get hold of them. And there is a vast array of socks obviously here,
and colours and everything
else, but there's even more on the website. We have got descriptions for the purposes for every sock on the website, and if you have got your traditionalists that want that original sort of thin liner sock, we do a travel sock which is nice and thin, and then you can layer that up. But again, it's get that nailed down now. Get your boots, get your approach shoes, get your socks, and get them all fitted up, and make sure you know what works for you and what's comfortable for the trip. But I would say it's getting slightly easier with the way footwear has evolved, and we've got this modern footwear. It's got a lot more cushioning in it. It's not just, although we still have a lot of walking boots with Vibram solid soles on them, it's very different from the original Vibram soles that had screws and nails through them. And you've got very good EVA cushioned midsoles. So a lot of people don't need so much volume in their walking socks now. And I can imagine quite a few people, if it's the first time they're undertaking a trip like yours and going up a mountain, they can sort of almost panic and go, right, we need the thickest sock. Not necessarily. You probably don't.
Brilliant. Okay, right. So I think the thing, the main conclusion from this is that don't think socks aren't important.
No.
Actually, for the comfort of your trek, you've paid a lot of money to go on your trek, and this is one of the things that actually could dampen your summit attempts. Really,
you've just given a prime example. You've had a client come on the trip, and they've purchased socks that are too big for themselves, and they haven't made it to the top, and probably had quite discomfort on the way back down.
Exactly.
Spend some time thinking about it. But any advice, obviously speak to yourself, or you can get in touch with us.
So we'll put a link at the bottom of the video to the website, and like I say, if you've got any questions, then you can just come and ask us in the office, and we can try and give you some advice on what you need for your trek. But hopefully we've covered it off today, and you now know that socks are actually quite an important part of your trek. So speak to you later. Bye.
Cheers.